Okay, so as I'm sure you saw in the title and the thumbnail, me and my wife bought another car. Now, we may have a little bit of a car buying addiction, but more on that in a different video. Now, since you guys have the power of fast forward, we're not gonna waste any time here. But real quick, before I show you what the car is, I wanna hear what your guesses are. So hit the pause button and let me know what your guesses are down below. I wanna see if anybody was able to guess what vehicle we bought just based on the hints that I've dropped on Instagram and YouTube over the past week. But without further ado, the next vehicle on the channel is... It's a 2013 Fiat 500C Abarth. Okay, so as you saw, it is a Fiat 500 Abarth. To be more exact, a Fiat 500C because it is the convertible. And what are your thoughts on it?
It is such a fun little car to drive.
You like it?
I love it a lot.
So for those of you that don't know what this is, Abarth is kind of the sport version of the Fiat 500. It's kind of like a specific type of Fiat. So the Abarth, I think he was like a famous racer. And so this is kind of a homage to that individual. And so this is the Abarth, so it's a more powerful one. And let's just do a quick exterior walk around. This is a 2013, like I mentioned earlier. And I don't know, I think it's in pretty good shape. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, not too many dents
at
all.
Pretty
surprising
clean
for a 10-year-old car.
Yeah, and even the soft top is in actually really good shape over here. There doesn't seem to be any leaks or really any wear whatsoever. And it's actually an automatic soft top, which is something the Bronco doesn't even have. Nice. And it works really well. It's a really, really small car. It's kind of like almost just funny looking with how small it is. It's smaller than a Mini Cooper, but I think the interior is actually larger. And we'll talk about why exactly we chose this vehicle, right?
Yeah, we will in a future video.
Future video, yeah, because it's actually kind of a fun and quirky little story. But you have the Abarth. It's actually a scorpion as a logo over here on the side. And there's your quick exterior walk around. Let's show you what it looks like under the hood, because that's really the special part of this vehicle. Okay, so opening up the hood, and it's actually kind of funny, this does have hood struts where a lot of even more expensive cars have like the peg that holds up the hood. This thing is a little bit more luxurious than that, as funny as that sounds. So what do you have under the hood is a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that produces about 160 horsepower and 183 pound-feet of torque. Now for a car that weighs about 2,500 or so pounds, that's actually pretty impressive. But the previous owner of this vehicle told us something interesting. What was that about the engine?
They added a cold air intake?
Yeah, so they did add a cold air intake, and they did, I think, a little bit of a tune. So the previous owner says you're probably pushing about 200 horsepower out of this car. Not sure if I believe it or I can verify that aside from taking it to a dyno, but this is supposed to be a little bit quicker than the stock Fiat 500 Abarth. But this is really the fun part of this vehicle. It's just a hot hatch. It's got a pretty powerful engine and a small body, which makes it really fun to drive. Now let's show you what the interior of this thing looks like. Okay, so jumping inside. Now, forgive us, this car does look a little bit dirty. We haven't really had a chance to clean it since we picked it up earlier this week, but it's kind of a quirky interior. Very cheap. I mean, everything here is just, hard touch plastics and everything. This at least is soft, but it actually has some nice touches, which we'll talk about. Like, look at the red stitching on the seats over here. These are cloth seats, but they have quite a bit of bolstering to them, and then you got some nice, like, aluminum bezel over here. What do you think of the seats?
I really like the seats. They're comfortable, and on top of it, this is a manual, so you feel like you're racing in these seats.
Yeah, so that's kind of the big thing about these cars. I don't think you can get these in an automatic, but the one we got obviously has the manual transmission, and believe it or not, we actually don't really know how to drive manual transmissions, right?
No, I've had to learn over the last week or two.
Yeah, it's myself included. I mean, I've driven a couple manuals before, but I've never personally owned a manual, so this is actually our first manual transmission vehicle.
But it's fun.
It's really fun. And
I recommend it.
especially with the way the turbo sounds and just kind of how it spools up, and you have the exhaust. Speaking of which, this is the only car from the factory that comes without a muffler. So there's no muffler on this vehicle, and it sounds really aggressive. Probably the most mean-sounding four-cylinder that you could ever drive. You have a leather-wrapped steering wheel here. You got the Abarth logo again over here. You've got a little boost indicator over on the left, and then this is your speedometer. We'll show you what that looks like when we hit the road. Just your typical radio controls. There's nothing really fancy in here. There's no backup camera. There's no crazy infotainment screen. Just your typical, mid-2000s type of radio. But one thing this vehicle does have, what is that, sweetie? Well, what's something cool that this car comes with?
Seat warmers.
Yeah.
What?
Back in 2013, this vehicle, which is a pretty cheap vehicle overall, had heated seats. So that's kind of pretty impressive. And they work really well. They still work even 10 years later. You do have a little sport mode over here, which is very important to push if you're using this car for a kind of fun, spirited driving. Sport mode makes a big difference. You just have your hazards, your defrost, then your climate control settings down here. And we'll do a more in-depth video on this car later, just kind of doing a big reveal. There's the 3 pedals down there, which is really nice to see. You got your window controls and then your 5-speed manual. It's not even a 6-speed. It's really close to the steering wheel, which makes it really nice. Little cup holders down here, your handbrake, your e-brake, which is manual. Just one armrest. I don't know why they cheaped out and didn't do 2 armrests, but if you're the driver, you're the lucky one that has an armrest here. And I like that this panel will actually match the exterior of the car. So if your car is red, this thing will be red. Ours is white, so that's what that looks like. Okay, now the coolest feature about this vehicle, do you want to show them what that is?
Yes.
So it's actually got an auto retractable soft top roof, which is pretty impressive for a vehicle of this price range. I think it started around $24,000. This one I think was about $27 and some change. And then if you push that button one more time, it'll actually fold the rear glass window. So it's actually glass, it's not plastic like it is in my Bronco, and opens up the entire roof, giving you a cool open air experience. And that's kind of one of the reasons we actually really wanted this vehicle. We'll talk about that in a different video. But let's show you what the back seats look like real quick. Legroom isn't bad considering this is such a small car on the outside. Are you sitting in a pretty good position where you would normally sit?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, and look at that. I mean, you could fit back here pretty easily. I mean, I don't know about headroom. You probably have to have the soft top open. But sitting back here, you could probably easily fit 2 adults. It's just as wide as the front seats, so there's no compromise there. So actually pretty impressive. And then you do have 2 cup holders back there as well, and you have speakers back there also. So, quite a lot of fun little things to show on this car, but we're really excited. So should we get behind the wheel and just take it for a little bit of a drive?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start her up. I like the sound of that with no muffler. It sounds really good.
You ready?
You excited?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, here we got in sport mode. Nice. How you liking it?
So much fun.
Yeah, this thing is fun to drive.
Here we go.
And it sounds good, and we got it in sport mode, and it's pretty quick, 0 to 60, probably in the low 6-second range.
I wasn't a good indication of that, though.
No, you did great. This is your 4th or 5th day driving a manual, and she's shifting gears, she's not stalling it. She's doing better than I am, honestly, and I've driven a handful more manuals than you have. Overall, a pretty spacious interior. Lots of legroom here, no problems there. Heated seats, like I said, AC, everything works great. And you got that soft top. If it was a little bit warmer today, maybe we'd have that open, but also then the audio would sound kind of, weird and stuff. But we'll have this acceleration here in just a little bit. She's not granny shifting and double clutching like Vin Diesel said in Fast and Furious. I mean, just driving anywhere in this car, you feel like you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's just kind of fun. Even though you're not even going that fast, that's kind of the appeal of this vehicle, is this is a completely different vehicle than the Dodge Challenger where you are going 1,000,000 miles an hour. This thing, just getting to 40 miles, you're getting that dramatic experience, that kind of, thrilling hot hatch experience that you would expect from a vehicle of this size. That's what makes these kind of cars really fun. And again, we'll talk more about why we picked this one over the million other vehicles that are on the market. I think there'll be some pretty fun content with this. What about you? What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited to drive it more.
You enjoy driving this car, huh?
It's fun.
Well, thank you guys for checking out this little video. It's not meant to be anything crazy, just kind of a reveal video showing you what's new on the channel and what we're really excited about, because Honestly, I'm really excited about this car, and I probably shouldn't be. It's like more exciting than it is, especially given the price we paid for it, which we'll talk about in the future as well. If this is your first time stopping by, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because there's some weird cars on this channel. You got a Dodge Challenger, a Range Rover, you've got a Fiat 500, and you've got a Ford Bronco. So lots of weird cars on this channel, but nonetheless, lots of fun stuff to look at. Also, check me out, all the social media down in the description below. I'm gonna put all that information down there. And as always, everybody, I hope you stay schwazy, stay healthy, have a wonderful day.